Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League.
Numero Cuatro, episode 4 is live now here at Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. I'm going to be joined by, of course, the one and only Ram Ambassador himself, because he's been talking about the Rams all week long, and I'm getting kind of tired of it. But nonetheless, he's back for another day, like he's going to be with me for every day. That is Coach Gio. We're going to be joined by Joe Garcia, Two Shots Podcast. I own Joe Garcia, the mastermind behind the Alamo City Podcast Network. Also, he's on with Michael Jimenez every single morning from 10:15 to about 11:30 on the Alamo City Sportscast. Joe's going to be joining us at 2:30. It's Spurs Chisme. Nobody wants to miss the Chisme. We got Spurs Chisme with a special guest. Jeff Garcia of Locked On Spurs is going to be joining us at 2:30 to talk about all the Spurs Chisme that we can give you guys. Let's go ahead and bring in the coach, and also we're going to bring in our special guest for the day, and Joe Garcia. Gentlemen, it's time to sweep the league again. And I gotta say, I was coming to my fake studio here and getting ready for the show, and 3 times I almost got in an accident. So this show may not have happened 3 times. One with an 18-wheeler behind me, just on my ass. Another time, a guy just cut me off, I guess, coming out of the store. And the last time, I'm turning at my light, and a guy just decides, let me take off on the red light. 3 times. Yeah, I don't want the rest in peace signs, yo. Don't give me that shit. That's
no. Just doing a little prayer for you there, Rudy.
Oh,
we don't want you to not be on the show, obviously, but we're glad you're okay.
In the will, Sweep the League goes to you first and foremost. So you'd have to take over. I've got that in the will, man. That is Coach Gio. Hey, Joe, welcome to Sweep the League. It's almost like a reunion, man. Back in the day, we all 3 of us were together in the Rated R podcast days, if I'm not
yeah, man. I remember the Rated R days, dude. That way, way, way back in the rear view, man. But a lot of good times, a lot of good things that we talked about. It was off the wall, man. I remember we had Gio doing some type of weird trivia thing, man. It was
Listen,
nuts.
man, my mom used to say, what kind of podcast is that?
Yeah, man.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We moved on to bigger and better things now, Rudy. So
literally bigger and better things, because as much as everybody gets canceled and blocked on social media these days, yeah, we would definitely not have made it past. Good afternoon, Christopher
Leha, man. He says, fucking get it, boys.
Yeah, let's get it, man. And shout out to Chris Leha, man. MCS General Contracting. Definitely a good company. If you need any concrete done. What is a thing that y'all like to say?
Chris Leha has some of the hardest concrete in the business. It's diamond hard. No blue chew or Viagra needed, man.
The biggest decks in the business is what we can use. That'll be another one. Tim Gonzalez, what is up, man? I haven't seen the Duke post yet. I'm praying that I don't see a Tim Gonzalez.
Tim has a Duke hat on, so
I know, but he always makes a mention, and there it is.
Oh, here it is.
There it is. I was waiting for it. Tar Heels still suck. Tar Heels do suck this year. They're gonna suck for a while. I know. And Leha says diamond hard. So yeah, they bailed the biggest decks in the business. That is MCS General Contracting. All right,
maybe they can build us a coffin or something so we can put Mike in, dude. Because damn, that boy sometimes has some of the worst takes, man.
He gets roasted.
He needs to get buried, bro.
he gets roasted a lot.
On a daily. His nickname is Rotisserie Chicken, dude.
Oh man,
just all day, every day, rinse and repeat, man.
Man, I haven't eaten lunch. Chicken sounds good right about now. Really good about now. Now, let's man. Hey, at 2:30, we're gonna have Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs, joining us for some Spurs Chisme. Everybody knows Jeff Garcia, man. He's the only one that really has his own, music when it comes to this. Not only that, Rocky has his own music as well. Gio and I don't have entrance music, but we need to get an entrance theme. Jeff Garcia will be jumping on here at 2:30 with us to talk some Spurs Chisme.
I'm gonna give you the jingle we use for Hefe when we have him on, man.
I don't know what jingle is it?
Let's see if I play it, you can hear it.
Let's see if we can hear that. If not, Oh, okay. Shane McMahon.
Not the other McMahon. Not the other McMahon.
No, not the other McMahon. Not that bad McMahon. Not the bad McMahon. No, definitely not. Man, we're gonna have a rundown today. And like I said, 2:30, Jeff Garcia is gonna come on. Definitely going to be talking about some Spurs Chisme. What are we going to talk about, Spurs Chisme? I'm not going to tell you. You got to wait. You got to tune in at 2:30 to see what we do talk about with the Spurs Chisme. Not only that, we're talking NFL draft stuff. Now, you've got, a lot of stuff maybe happening later on. We're talking Justin Fields. Why the Bears are shopping Justin Fields, if they are, is ridiculous. Justin Fields needs to stay with the Chicago Bears, as Gio looks at me. I'm going to make the case for him staying as a Chicago Bear. Gio's probably going to make the case as to why you trade him and get, more draft assets, and you go draft Caleb Williams, who's Mr. Everything, which for sure Caleb Williams is not Mr. Everything, Gio.
Hater.
I'm not a hater, man. It's a proof. How are you going to cry on national television like the way he did? The guy buckled under so many pressure situations. Why would you want him as your quarterback?
First of all, that defense was terrible last year. Second of all, listen, Caleb Williams, he doesn't
play defense. He doesn't play defense.
Of course, he doesn't play defense. But look, I just think he has the opportunity, once getting here to the level, to be that guy. I just see it in him. Look, I've been wrong, but I'm not Daniel Jones wrong about this.
Oh, you had to throw that in there. That's an asshole move, dude. That's a low blow right there. No, man, Caleb Williams is not. I have a third or fourth round grade on Caleb Williams, man. I mean,
fourth round pick.
Yes, that's my grade on Caleb Williams. It's a fourth round pick. The worst case scenario.
So is Gio now a Bears fan? I thought he was a Rams fan.
No, I'm a Rams fan. But look. I saw Caleb throughout the year. Look, it wasn't always great, but man, when he had some games, Rudy, you got to admit, he fell down at one point, and I think it was the first game. He fell down, got back up, and threw like 70 yards. I mean, look, I think he has the tools. He has the arm strength. He has to put it all together. Look, he's still young, right? Still got some developing to do, some maturing to do, but I can't wait to see what the future holds for Caleb.
So Gio has the Bears as his Sancha team then?
Well, look, I did live in Chicago for a little bit, so I have, some love for the Bears. Listen, they're dying. They're dying, Joe, for a winner. They're dying for a quarterback. They're dying to have something to live for.
Chris Gonzalez said it. Who did Caleb ever beat? He didn't beat anybody. Caleb Williams, they didn't do anything, man. Now, it's the same hype as college football and the darlings of media, the big-time media. We're talking about Shedeur Sanders.
Caleb is getting the same type of reception as freaking Dak, dude. It's all hype, no substance, man.
We gotta wait till he gets him, but I believe that he could be successful in the league.
Why would you think he would be successful in the league, man?
Rudy, just because your college team isn't,
it has nothing to do with my college team.
Doesn't mean that someone else can be successful. I mean, there's been a number of quarterbacks that didn't have the greatest college success, and I played well in the NFL.
Is Caleb Williams the number one pick?
I think so. I mean, the Bears, look, the Bears pass up on Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert. They pass up on a lot of quarterbacks throughout the years.
Caleb Williams is no Josh Allen. He's definitely not going to be no.
Well, Josh Allen is a different style quarterback, but I think Caleb in his own right can be really good. So time will tell, Rudy. The time will tell. We'll put the tape on in a few years, and we'll say, you know what? Damn, the coach was right once again.
You're a typical Duke guy. You think that every player from your organization is going to be the next big guy, the next big thing. Come on, man. I mean, it's the Caleb Williams whole hype train is dumb, dude. It's dumb.
I don't think it's dumb.
He couldn't prove anything.
He had some good. Listen,
good games.
He had some good games.
I had good games in Madden last night. I mean, I'm not going to get drafted.
Think about this. Michael Penix Jr., right?
Way higher.
Wait. Did you see the passes he was throwing at the All-Star game or whatever that game was a few weeks ago? How terrible he looked?
Yeah.
Look, we'll wait.
One game, Gio.
We'll wait until next season. We'll wait till he gets on, and we'll see what happens. Only time will tell.
the chances of Caleb going number one are about as good as Rudy going number one. Hey man, Rudy was showing us his throwback from when he was it playing that football, I believe it was. Was it high school or little league or something like that?
No, that was basketball.
Basketball.
St. Gregory's.
I was like, damn, look at Rudy, man.
Hey, so real quick, I want to get off the Caleb train because we're going to get into more Caleb talk, obviously. But Tim Gonzalez is right. Very kind of social apparel. Yesterday's show, I tried to coin something, and I'm going to go ahead and try to trademark this because if the Spurs end up drafting Cooper Flag, I made a statement. I said they need to come out with a T-shirt that says, you have Victor Wembanyama, you have Cooper Flag. So they're going to have a shirt that says Victor Flag. The absolute perfect shirt right there. So Tim Gonzalez is right. We need to make those shirts ASAP. Bear County Social Apparel. Hey man, that's definitely what we need. See, man, Gio, no one's gonna agree with you. Everybody understands that this guy is cooking. This guy right here is cooking on the Caleb. I'm giving you all the Caleb Williams smoke you can handle.
Listen, I can handle all the smoke. Only time's gonna tell Rudy I'm right, you're wrong. Simple as that.
Okay, I give you credit. Stetson Bennett is going to have a better career than Caleb Williams.
Put some money on it. Do a gentleman's bet, man.
Dude, Stetson Bennett had some other issues going on last year with the Rams. But look, I just think Caleb has the opportunity to be really good. Look, he had 30 touchdowns, 5 picks, close to 4,000 yards passing last year. I just think that can translate to the NFL. It's a different game now. It's a lot of throws. Obviously, Rudy, the best system, the system in place. Where does he go? Right? Where does he go? Where does he land? And there's an offensive-minded coach. I think the Commanders could be a really good fit with Kingsbury coming over, but it just kind of depends.
Okay, all seriousness, joking aside about the Caleb Williams, because I have my doubts, my big doubts on Caleb Williams. But if there was a team in the top 3 where I feel he could benefit the most, it is the Commanders. There's no lie. I think the Commanders with Caleb Williams makes more sense, but golly, man. I mean, you're talking Kingsbury there. I mean, you saw kind of what he was able to do with Kyler Murray. Similar style quarterback Caleb Williams is. I think, he can scramble. I don't think the accuracy is there for Caleb Williams yet, but it's all mentality, Gio. And you're already on a bad USC squad. You're going to be on a losing NFL squad. Is he going to be able to take that mentality and be like, he's going to be okay with it? Because we saw how he handled losing at USC. He was the butt of every joke at USC when they were losing. Now you're coming to the NFL where if you're going to go in the stands and cry in the NFL, you're going to be run out of every damn team there.
No, I know. I mean, look, he did show some spots last year that, didn't put him in the best light. Obviously, the crying situation, look, men cry. I know it's not the best ideal to see potentially a franchise quarterback crying on TV, but hey, things happen. He's going to grow from this. And I just think that depending on obviously the situation, of course, I think he could be very successful and potentially taking a team to the next level. But look, let's wait to 5 years. Let's give him time. Let's see him grow.
And I think 5 years? Are you crazy?
Not necessarily 5 years, but I'm just saying let's give it some time to see what he becomes. Because what I think he can become will be a really good football player. And I just can't wait to just give him a few years and you'll watch, Rudy. You're going to be wrong.
Ideal team.
Wait.
Ideal team?
Is he better than Daniel Jones?
Oh, God.
Come on. You were glamoring over Daniel Jones just a few years ago.
I was glamoring over Daniel Jones. I said he would have been the best quarterback. I never backed down from that. I mean,
what school did Daniel Jones go to? Jesus Christ, Rudy.
Dude, seriously. He went to that shitty school down the street from North Carolina. That's all I can say about that.
First is Daniel, now is Cooper. Really? Just come over to this side already, Rudy. Forget the North Carolina side. Just forget it.
I'm not going to get – why do you force me to talk about this dumbass school, Duke? But yes, Daniel Jones did come from Duke. He is a Blue Devil. I still say that he's way better than Kyler Murray. I mean, I'm going to die on that hill. But, hey, we all have hills we die on. I mean, what has Kyler done that Daniel Jones hasn't? Be honest with me.
I mean, Kyler's made 2 Pro Bowls. He's
okay. I mean, the Pro Bowl side, Pro Bowl. A lot of the Pro Bowl talk. It's All-Star game. I mean,
it's not.
Who gives a shit about All-Star games?
Listen, he lifted a franchise into the postseason, where it's had several years of very mediocre play.
Okay.
Though Kyler is still not mature yet. He's the Call of Duty, the clause in his contract. Do you remember, Riddy? A studying clause. He had to go home and study, and they got out, and then ownership's like, well, let's just take it out of his contract.
Study clause. Come on, that's code for you to go make out at home with your girl or something, man.
So the whole Kyler Murray Call of Duty memes were hilarious, but deep down, I hope Kyler can really take another step forward next season with the Cardinals.
Hey, man, check this out, Rudy. I just saw this pop off right now on my Twitter. So Chuck McEtenick, man, prominent media figure here in San Antonio. Love me some Chuck, dude. Great guy. He puts out a tweet right now because they're showing the UFL, United Football League, official football. And his tweet that he puts out, the new UFL balls are out. And I retweeted that and I said, no pun intended, man, but this had me laughing my ass off. When I saw that, I'm like, bro, you couldn't use a better choice of words there.
Well,
wow, just the things you see on the Twitter line, bro. I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, it's you might want to take better care of the Twitter, how you say stuff on Twitter, because that's usually not a good thing there, Chuck, at all. But hey, this is Sweep the League. This is Coach Gio, joined by Joe Garcia. Hoping to be joined by Jeff Garcia here in a little bit of Locked On Spurs. I'm trying to get a hold of Jeff as we speak right now. He's actually DMing me, so I'm trying to DM him back here real quick. Yeah.
But look, I know I've been talking about Caleb a lot. I just think he'd be really good, and obviously, depending where he goes. Now, the Bears, though, Rudy, Justin Fields, do you think they're going to trade him? Do you think it's time after we've seen the last few years? He did look better down the stretch. I will say that the Green Bay game wasn't great, but do you think it's time to move on from Justin?
No, not at all. Because I think right now you're sitting at the first pick. Obviously, I think you're sitting at number 9, if I believe, 1 and 9. So,
yeah.
The best way to put it with Justin Fields is the fact that you can't say he hasn't had enough time. He's had enough time, but has he been surrounded by the right coaches, and has he been surrounded with enough talent around him? Now, can Justin Fields be more productive and a better player with Dak Prescott supporting cast? I think so. I mean, you give him, a receiving core like that. You give him an offensive line. Now, that's the biggest thing. You give him an offensive line to work behind, you're going to see the real Justin Fields come out. And I think he's a way better player than you're seeing at this point. And that's why I'm saying the Bears are in the prime position right now to stockpile picks in this draft and future drafts by trading number 1. Just let it go. You don't need a quarterback. You can go and get, say you want to trade with the New England at 3 because New England definitely wants Caleb. You can get that 3rd pick. Can you imagine? And actually, DJ Moore came out the other day on a podcast and said, basically, they're not going to give up on Justin. There's no reason to trade Justin Fields. Just help reload and help load up the offensive side of the ball. Get him some offensive line help. Get him another receiver. Can you imagine
Marvin Harrison?
That's what I'm saying. Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors. Those 2 guys are the 2 guys that I'm targeting if I'm the Bears, but I'm trading down for them. And you pair him, even if you go with a Rome Odunze out of Washington. I mean, you pair him with a DJ Moore, you have Cole Kmet, and then you go get a Joe Alt or somebody on the offensive line. Now the Bears are actually looking at, okay, we can be one of those teams now. We can start talking about possible playoff aspirations there and dreams. So that's why I wouldn't trade Justin Fields. Now, if I'm trading Justin Fields, I'm asking for a whole lot in return.
A whole lot?
Yes, because I don't have to trade him at all. I shouldn't have to. I guess look at it like this, man. Let me ask you, Gio, because the Justin Field thing kind of makes me go back and forth. Why? Because, I mean, he has a lot of talk going to Atlanta. I would love to see Justin Fields in Atlanta. I don't mind giving up that 10th pick, I believe they have for Justin Fields. But is there a quarterback in this draft? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, the list goes on and on. Is there a quarterback that you can plug into the Bears as is and have more success than Justin Fields?
I mean, as good as I think Caleb could be, obviously he's a rookie. There's going to be some growing pains. Probably not at this point, at least, because there's obviously unknowns with new quarterbacks coming in. But you're right. There's probably no one else. So I understand both parts, trading and keeping. If the Bears do keep Justin, you trade out of there. If you get a Harrison, maybe a Brock Bowers, or, some sort of, obviously, another weapon, or obviously offensive line, then I could definitely see that. But Rudy, look, I don't love defensive-minded head coach with normally young quarterbacks, simply because it's just always something that just doesn't work. Now, obviously, with the Texans, it's a little bit different. CJ Stroud kind of hit his stride, and it's kind of worked out. But normally, defensive-minded coaches just don't do well with young quarterbacks. If you do, get them an offensive-minded offensive coordinator. They fired their OC. They've had kind of a revolving door. I think they got the OC from the Seahawks, Shane Waldron, which is a former Rams coach, which could definitely help Justin. But do you give Justin one more year? How about next year? If you don't see any improvements, then obviously you probably have to jump ship, right?
And that's to the point that I was making. Tim Gonzalez, where do you see Drake May going? We'll get you that question here in a minute. We'll definitely get an answer to that one. But that's the point that I'm trying to make. You move on from one this year. You stockpile picks. You concentrate on the next couple of drafts. Why? I mean, you've got a Quinn Ewers coming out next year, possibly. You've got other guys that are going to be coming out in the next couple of years. So you give Justin this year and see where you go. Load him up with Neighbors or Rome or even Marvin Harrison. Get him some offensive line help. That's really all you need for him on that offensive side, and see how he does. At the end of the season, he was cooking, man. I mean, he turned it up at the end of the season. It bothers me to think that, we're going to miss out on a supposed generational talent, because that word gets thrown around in Spurs Twitter and everywhere else. That's kind of weird, but you get a generational talent in Caleb Williams at what cost? Say Caleb doesn't pan out, and say Justin goes to Atlanta, or Justin, Justin gets traded to, I don't know, say Seattle, taking over for Gino. You're given, he's successful. Bears shoot themselves in the foot again. Then you talk about the whole Mitchell Trubisky shit again. Should have drafted Patrick Mahomes and all that. It's you give him this year. You got to give him this year at least, but you stockpile those picks because everyone's going to pay you. Brother, man, everybody wants Caleb Williams for whatever reason. They want Caleb Williams. So you have to imagine they're going to give. Remember the Sam Bradford deal? I mean, they're going to give you a Brinks truck of picks for this guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're going to give him a lot of picks. Look, I've been struggling with it. Do they go get Caleb? Do they start fresh? But with the idea of keeping your head coach, a defensive-minded coach, I figure they're probably going to go with Justin Fields moving forward. Mm-hmm. Continue to build the team. I guess you give him one more year, Rudy, but what happens if Caleb is a rookie of the year? He's flying high. Is it just another Bears mistake as they always make? Obviously, hindsight, 2020, right? Depending on the time of year you think about it. But no, I definitely get it. Stockpile picks, that's always normally the best way to go. Unless you're the Rams, you go on a few years ago and you win the chip, right, Rudy?
I can't deal with you in the Ram talk every time, man. Never heard. Let's go to Tim Gonzalez here. We are trying to get Jeff Garcia on for 2:30 so we can talk some Spurs Chisme here. This is Sweep the League with Coach Gio. Joe Garcia, special guest today. I guarantee you, I don't have Joe on mute. He's
no,
there.
I'm busy, man. I'm just looking.
He's doing some stuff behind the scenes here, but
scouring the internet.
Speaking with Joe. Go to YouTube, smash that subscribe button by searching Alamo City Podcast Network. That way we get to 1,000 followers. I know from Sweep the League, we're giving something away for all you local guys. It's Burger Boy. For anybody else that's not local, we even had a guy from Germany yesterday, I believe, ask what could we give her the Netherlands, and ask what we can do. So I'm like, I'll send a gift card. I don't know if they have, Burger Boy in Netherlands. Maybe we can have them expand or something. Hey, Whataburger's expanding everywhere. Maybe we'll hook them up, something there. But we'll definitely get something.
Maybe we can send him some of Jimenez's lightly worn boots, at the rodeo.
Yeah, as Jimenez was doing, was he raking leaves yesterday?
Oh, dude, no mommies, dude.
I have no idea.
He don't do that kind of work, man. He pays somebody to do that.
Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of bougie here, I just saw Gio's cup. Is that a Stanley, Gio?
I don't know. Gio's big time now.
No, this is a Hydro Flask, but I do have a Stanley though.
Yeah,
he's got it locked up in the cupboard with all of those other.
No, my Stanley's my coffee cup. So I have a coffee one, a water one, and I don't like to mix those two. But yeah, that's a Hydro Flask.
Yeah, because y'all were talking about Caleb Williams. So what I was doing is I kind of looking around, seeing what the order of the draft is. Of course, I know the Bears have the number 1 overall pick, but just kind of seeing the mock drafts and what they have as far as like the top 5. They have the Bears, of course, no surprise, taking Caleb Williams. Commanders taking Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina. New England Patriots taking Jaden Daniels. Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. And at number 5, the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, once we get a little bit into more draft talk, we're going to talk about movements up and down. You've got teams like the Chargers, Gio. Let's be real. There's no reason why they should be drafting that high. Probably just take basically just trade that pick down, man. I think that would probably be the best thing to do. My opinion. We're going to get into more draft talk here. Tim Gonzalez, the Drake May question. I guarantee you we're going to answer it here. Give me a few seconds here because we've got royalty in the building right now. What is it? Jimenez will be taking his son Elias to. Yes, I did see that. We're gonna have to get into that.
He's gonna sit him on his lap. Is what Jimenez said on the show.
That kind of got a little weird here. Welcome to Sweep the League.
Too spicy.
We're gonna welcome royalty here to Sweep the League, and that is the one and the only. And he's not on camera. It is Jeff Garcia. Jeff, welcome to Sweep the League, man.
Hey guys, what's going on? Congratulations on joining the network. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, Jeff. And I got to do it, man, because you've been a guest before on Sweep the League, and you have your own theme music. So,
all right, I forgot about the theme music.
Yeah, you've gotten it in the past from us, and it's a Jeff Garcia a staple, man. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I know he thinks he's going to get away from it today because he hates this dude.
Well, I got used to it on Joe's show, but I forgot that Rudy has dropped that on me too.
That's the song that he likes, and then we make it rain with the dollar bills coming down.
I don't have those.
You can't do it this time, Joe. You can't do it this time, can you?
No, I don't have those graphics to do that with. But hey, man, we want to talk to you definitely about Spurs, Jeff. Talk about the Locked On episode that came out with you and Michael Jimenez, who's one of the hosts of the Alamo City Sportscast, and get a couple of things. So we're going to do the Spurs Chisme with you. Let me go ahead and cue up that Chisme segment promo here.
So, like, I hear about the Spurs this y Spurs that, y como que esto y esta, pero I never hear about the real Spurs Chisme. Dime, por favor.
So, Chisme, Jeff, we got, and you got a lot of fans in here, man. I mean, you're the most popular guy from all of us, so. First things first, man, before we get into some really big Chisme that I wanted to get you on, Tim Gonzalez definitely wanted me to ask you this. So yesterday we were talking about the whole idea of possibly, the Trae Young to San Antonio hype just being so real. So imagining if they got Trae Young, they got Victor, and they kept Devin, you still have Jeremy. There's a fourth piece missing. If you could go out there to make a trade because the Spurs have all these assets still, who would be a player you could see them maybe going to trade for?
Before I answer that, know what this whole Trae Young thing reminds me of?
What's that?
Remember when the Spurs were reportedly chasing Jason Kidd, the Spurs were in the mix for Kevin Durant. This feels like a leverage thing again. I don't know why. I don't know why it feels that way. It feels very similar. And I guess perhaps guys that, fool me once kind of thing, because it feels like we've been down this road before of major talent flirting with San Antonio, but nothing happens. Major talent being in the mix with San Antonio and nothing happens. So hopefully something does happen this time, because can you imagine, guys, if the Spurs run it back one more time with the same crew and make a move? Can you imagine? And why can I see that happening? Why would I not be surprised if that happens?
Yeah,
I can't do that again.
Well, Gio can't, but you know what? I know Jeff and I have talked, and we kind of agree that it's a good possibility you're going to see the same Spurs team next year.
It's a good possibility that could actually happen, and they go through the draft and really start young all over again. But anyway, as far as chasing somebody that's not named Trey, is that the question?
Yeah, so so they've got Trey Young. Say that they go out and they get a Trey. If there's going to be that open roster spot on the starting lineup. So Tim Gonzalez is wanting to know who would be that guy you'd like them to go after, whether it be through trade or something.
Lauri Markkanen.
Bam, said it yesterday. Exact same guy.
Lauri Markkanen.
Yep.
Lauri would be a great addition to this Spurs team. Could have had him a couple years ago, but they didn't. Oh well. But hey, you move on. And yeah, I think Lauri would fit in great with this team. Another guy, kind of a very Spurs pickup, and it probably wouldn't cost a lot. A Drew Holiday. I would love to have that kind of guy, a veteran point guard in that ilk. I don't need your point guard to be scoring in bunches when you got Wemby there, when he should be the primary focus. I don't need another mouth to feed on the court. And so I would go with an established veteran like Drew Holiday.
Yeah, so I forgot. Tim did mention the dream starting lineup. He did mention a lineup and say if this was to happen, we kind of talked about this yesterday. Again, we're talking to Jeff Garcia. Follow him on X. I was going to say Twitter, but it's X, at Jeff G Spurs Zone. It's on Locked On Spurs. I'm a guest on there. Joe's a guest on there. Gio's just too bougie to be a guest on anyone's show. So
getting Joe on Locked On Spurs is now hard now. It's difficult.
Joe and Gio are at the top of the pecking order. They're not little pea-sized people.
Well, no. I'm saying I used to be able to get Joe on easily. Now I can't anymore. He's all Mr. Busy now.
He's a big timer. Joe's big timer here.
I'm working, man. I'm working. I work a lot. And when I'm not working my normal job, I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes for us as far as growing the network and podcasting and live streaming and all that kind of stuff. But I've been inviting Jeff to come into the studio, but he big times me. He never wants to come in here, man.
I'm trying to get Jeff to see my collection back here one day. Hopefully I'll be able to have him do it.
I still have to come to the studio. I have nice bottles of liquor and everything. I don't buy the cheap stuff. But
it has to be a weekend, Joe. It has to be a weekend.
My door's always open. Come on through.
So the dream lineup that Tim Gonzalez was talking about, and I remember him now saying it because that was the other question I wanted to ask you, was he said, okay, Jeff, basically 2025 rolls around. The draft is already over. You're talking about a team where you have Victor, you have Cooper Flag, because remember, they have the Hawks pick. And if they gut the Hawk this offseason, that pick could be number one potentially, because there's not a lot of talent on the Atlanta Hawks outside of Trey and DeJounte. You have Cooper Flag. You also go and get a Klay Thompson from free agency, probably. Mm-hmm. And then you have Trey Young. So, again, with those four guys, if there's a guy you could add, who would it be? Or maybe you leave Devin as, that other option. With those four guys, who would you be willing to add? What would they need?
There's something about keeping Devin around. I think he is the Robin right now to Wemby's Batman. And I would like to see, him stay with this rebuild longer than this season and next season. There's something, we kind of joked about it, Rudy, on Locked On, but there is something to running it back, maybe not completely, but with a good chunk of these guys. Mm-hmm. It could work. Okay, granted, they beat the out of the Pistons and the Raptors recently. But there's something to be said with familiarity. These guys get seasoned. Look, Popovich has thrown the word out, immature. The team has said, yeah, we are immature. We're young. They're the youngest team in the league, 23 years old. That process is still going on. I'd love to see maybe not run it back completely, but kind of like tinkering.
Mhm.
Now, they do need to bring in another star. That is for sure. I mean, Dallas proved it the other night. Luka and Kyrie just torched San Antonio. You need star power in San Antonio.
Mhm.
But keeping a guy like Devin, Jeremy around to build with Wemby as you add a big-time player can work. Now, I know there's not skipping steps, as the Spurs say, and then there's the Spurs fan base that's saying, well, some, not all, saying, well, you got all this hanging in the back closet, the cash, the picks, the players.
Mhm.
But Joe, why can't they just do it? Rudy, why can't they just do it everything at the same time? You don't have to skip steps. You can continue building, but you can also burn some of the cash and the picks and the cachet of players you have on the roster at the same time.
I'm going to throw something out there, and this might be frowned upon, but what if you bring back one DeMar DeRozan? Got a lot of veteran leadership there, could kind of, show this team how to win, so to speak. He's great when it comes to just, that little mid-range jumper. He was not looked upon as the greatest Spur, and when you're looking at the history of San Antonio, but he's still a good caliber of player. Maybe he could be had at a decent price. Maybe you get him on for like a 2-3 year deal, 2-year guaranteed, 3rd-year option. I mean, what do you think about that?
To me, it makes a little sense because we talked about it yesterday with Derek Irvin. Bringing back a DeMar DeRozan for the San Antonio Spurs makes sense if he's – it's kind of weird because it makes sense if you bring in already a guy like Trae Young or an established player because you want DeMar to be that scorer. You don't want him – when he was here, he was kind of like the guy, which now Victor's the guy. But if you have DeMar as that off-ball scorer – that makes a lot more sense. He's going to be open a lot more. But the benefit to where I see DeMar coming back is that he's improved on his 3-point shooting this season.
Mm-hmm.
That should make Spurs fans salivate, Jeff.
He wasn't great when he was here, but he's worked on it.
Yeah. And there's something to be said too. He wouldn't be the primary option. I mean, he'll know that it's Wemby's team, so there won't be that pressure that he had when he was a Spur, as opposed to if he were to come in the future. So there's a plus on that. By the way, speaking of Trae Young, I think his facilitating gets underrated a lot. Really underrated. Yeah. He's really good at finding the open guys. I think that'll be good. Just defensively, it's just I don't think he'll ever be great at defense, even good.
My question to you, Jeff, is if the Spurs fans are enamored, they are enamored with that possibility of the 1-2 duo, Trae Young, Victor Wembanyama. Be a great duo, don't get me wrong. But in order to go ahead and obtain such a player, you're going to have to say goodbye to some of the picks, no doubt, and also some of the fan favorites. That might mean you might have to say goodbye to one Devin Vassell, possibly, or even saying goodbye to Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, for example. You can't get them all. You got to pack them in, or one or two of them, and some picks.
And here's the thing, too. Eventually, you're going to have to even let's just have an argument here and say, hey, they run it back next year, the season after, all that. But eventually, all these guys are going to want to get paid. Eventually.
Exactly.
They're all going to run out their contracts. So you're going to have to make major decisions, whether it's this offseason or down the line in the future. So, you can perhaps – I think they're going to have to flip some of these young cores. I think they're going to have to if they want to bring in a major star like Young or whoever else they have on their radar. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I wouldn't get too comfy with some of these fan favorites because this team is likely going to look different next year or especially in the following year where, they're going to have to, do something. How much longer can fans in the city see these kind of seasons? How many seasons in a row have we had sub 500? Like four in a row of below 500 records? Yeah.
But as a consolation prize, Spurs fans still have some young players that are still developing. Dominic Barlow, Julian Champagny, for example.
Yeah, but they don't move the needle, though.
Yeah, they're not going to move the needle. They're still developing, not saying that they're going to be rising or budding superstars. They can just be good, solid role players. And if you go ahead and build good, solid role players and couple that with some star power, I mean, you have a decent lineup at some point in time, hopefully in the near future, in a couple seasons from now. But right now, this team as currently constructed, I think we've seen the pinnacle of what they're able to do. with all these pieces that are around Wemby right now, and it doesn't bode well going into next season or even the season after that. What do you think, Jeff? Do they have to go ahead and make some moves to keep Wemby happy, and do they have to make moves to go ahead and have the team win?
Not only that, they're having to play catch up. So as this team is getting better, the Spurs teams are getting better that are in their conference. Dallas is only going to get better. Memphis, we'll see what they do next season with a full season of John Morant. You got the Pelicans, you got the Rockets, you got the Sacramento, you have the Wolves. The Wolves are finally coming out now. Sacramento is about to have be one of the teams guaranteed a 1 through 6 playoff spot eventually. So as they're trying to play catch up, other teams are getting better. So I know the Spurs don't want to skip steps. We heard that so many times this whole season, but you can't do both. You cannot skip steps, and you can also make major moves. You can do it at the same time because they have the ability to do it. They have all these. You're gonna have to burn these picks. You're gonna have to use them eventually. So why not? Why not? And
yeah, I mean to Jeff's point, I was telling Rudy a few days ago. Rudy's talking about 2025. I said, Rudy, it has to be 2024. Like they can do more, something. Get the fan base rolling. Because I said, as I went to a Pacer game a few months ago, it's just guys just jacking up shots. Just guys not knowing their roles. Just guys not understanding, hey, you got a guy on that bench or on the floor at the moment and Wemby, just give him the ball. And I don't think Spurs fans want to see that again, getting blown out off the court several games this year. It's just kind of a rolling theme. I think now's the time, and this offseason is going to be very important.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest holes that the Spurs are going to have to address, and this is a question I put out to everybody, is the shooting. Right now, the Spurs are atrocious when it's coming from them shooting behind the arc. They're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. I know I get a lot of flack for this as well when I say they're also one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. Everybody says, well, who plays defense in today's NBA? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the Spurs need a better quality or a better caliber of defensive player on the court in order to get stops, especially if the games are close, because they show that they still are impervious to winning. They still don't know how to win because they don't have that culture. They don't have that experience in place. So they have to go after some veteran players that can actually help this team get back to at least learning how to win. I think by having the same team rolling them out and having this team lose for another season, that's not conducive to winning. You're showing them the wrong things. You're showing them that this is a culture built for losing. We want to change that mindset, So what do they have to do, Jeff, to go ahead and change that mindset, to get back to the winning ways? Is it something as simple as bringing in some, people that know how to shoot from beyond the arc, or do they have to go ahead and solidify the defense? What do you think?
It's a little bit of everything. You got to have better shooters. They went 10 for 40 versus Dallas from 3-line?
Yeah, bad.
Horrible. And you got to get players that are at least I get players have off days. I get that. But Keldon Johnson, did he show up to Dallas or did he stay in Toronto? That inconsistency is a big issue. Look, if the Spurs want to go back to the glory days and they want to use a blueprint, then why not use the blueprint that we saw with David and Timmy's rookie season? Okay, sure, maybe Wemby didn't come into a ready-built team like Tim did and David did, but you can build that maybe for his sophomore season. You could do that. Sure, let him this year and then try that approach in year 2 for Wemby. But yeah, there's so many things have to change, on both ends of the court. They need shooters. They need better perimeter defenders. I mean, teams can get off on that 3-line versus San Antonio this whole season. You need an established veterans out there. I don't care if it's a forward, a point guard, another big. Just get some veterans out there. Can you imagine a Mario Ellie on this team just really getting into them? I mean, that'd be exactly what they need.
They need some dog out there on the court. They need somebody that's not afraid to strap. Get out there and mix it up.
Yeah, it's that's exactly what I'm seeing too. You definitely shooting, but let's be real, man. They need more than just shooting. They need a whole lot of holes to be filled when it comes to this Spurs team. It's shooting, it's defense. It's some attitude.
Floor spacing is one, Rudy. Come on, you've seen it too.
That what? I didn't hear that.
Floor spacing has been atrocious this season.
Well, I mean, when you have some guys playing out of position, when you've got no true floor general, I mean, you've got a lot of stuff. And the one narrative I don't like to see a lot is we're wasting Wemby, and I talked about it yesterday's show. We're wasting Wemby's time. The guy's only been here 50 plus games. He hasn't even been here a full year. What time are you wasting when it comes to Wemby? You're not wasting his time. He's under contract for 4 years.
Going to win out the gate. They were going to win out the gate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You want to see this team win because they drafted Wembanyama. You've had more first round picks. Help the team in a minimal amount and not go straight to the playoffs right away. There's more times than that than everything. We've had the number 1 pick twice before. And David just so happened to be the turnaround the Spurs needed playoff time. Tim Duncan
had better caliber of a supporting cast around him at the time.
Yeah, but then Tim came in, had a way better supporting cast. But then again, there you go, Tim right back in there. As Spurs fans, we all expect that to happen with Victor Wembanyama, and it's not that case because you have Victor coming in to what's not the past NBA when Dave and Tim came in. And those guys already had a good team to come in too. Again, my biggest question was what on this roster made people think that this was a playoff team when the same guys previous years were not close to being a playoff team at all. So adding a Victor Wembanyama is fantastic, but you've got to build around him.
Yeah, I think it was just the Wemby factor. Yeah, I think that was huge.
I mean, those teams. Yeah, to Rudy's point, those teams of David and Duncan, the rookie season, right? Those teams were different. The NBA was deeper. Players knew their role, and they knew what was define success, and just more veterans. I mean, this Spurs team, as Jeff said, it's the youngest team in the league. There's really no veteran presence, and it's definitely showing on the court.
Yeah, and I got Jeff for a couple more minutes. Jeff, before I let you go, man, we are talking to Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs. Follow him on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone.
Hey, real quick, can I something Gio said there and now sparks up? For a team this young team that kind of needs a kick in the butt sometimes, why do you think Pop has rarely, if not often, not anymore gone to the soft card anymore? He would fire the soft word so many times, and he hasn't called this team soft at all. I would like to see that happen. Light a fire under this team.
Yeah.
Gio, no, I definitely agree, and it's probably the type of players we have now, right? It's just very different, and maybe certain comments he may refrain from saying just because he knows that it may affect a certain way. But I definitely agree with Jeff. The old Pop will come out there yelling, screaming, his conferences, making comments about the team. He haven't seen any of that with this team. And it's probably just because so many young players, he doesn't want to really stir anything. But I definitely would love just them to come out and say, hey, you get your butt in gear, do something. Yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of Pop, it's really a good thing you mentioned Pop. Kind of good segue in, Jeff. Again, Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs. Follow him on X. It's at Jeff G Spurs Zone. We're talking to him right now about the Spurs Chisme. The last Chisme I got, Jeff. You are in the press conference as you cover the San Antonio Spurs, whether it be in person or whether it be through via online or whatever for the press conferences. What is my question is what is Pop's attitude in these pressers? Because, like you mentioned, you don't get the nasty side of Pop hardly anymore. We don't get certain, we don't get old Greg Popovich anymore. It went from Greg to Gregory now. He's been a bit more older and more, it just doesn't seem like Pop is, in my opinion, it just seems like Pop is going through the motions. And I hate to say that, but it just kind of seems that way. So from what you've seen on some of these pressers, how is Pop looking at a lot of these pressers?
He's not the same Pop. I remember during the Big Three era, he's definitely easier to talk to. He's a lot more accommodating with questions. He rarely chews you out anymore if it's kind of an awkward question. He'll kind of stare at you a little bit, but that's about it. And then he will either just be short answered and then move on. he wouldn't just linger there and kind of berate you. Definitely not the Pop that we know when he first came on the scene. I guess it's good and bad. It's good because, you know, they're in the media room, you're trying to do your job, and you know, he makes things difficult. But I've seen him be very accommodating in the sense of, you know, you probably all don't see this, but he will get up off his seat and walk out, but about to walk out and look back, he'll say, anybody have any more questions? He will tell you, I hope I answered your question fully. I never heard Pop say that during the Big Three era. So not as gruff anymore. I prefer when he comes in and makes blanket statements and exits. I prefer that because there's some times where I'm thinking, like, I'm sitting there waiting for him, say, when I'm looking at the stat sheet, I'm saying, what can you say? You know, more than just bad shooting and turnovers, for example, or nobody showed off the bench, or you ran into a buzzsaw named Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. So I get why they're short sometimes, because what more can you say? And you're kind of limited because post game you'll have this PR staff tell you, if you do go off the game, they'll say, we're talking about the game. We're talking about the post game. Mm-hmm. So we'll just say I'm writing a story about how, you know, Popovich likes to hear about and listens in to Sweep the League. Well, I can only ask that pregame. If I ask that postgame, maybe he'll answer it, or you'll probably get reminded we're talking about the game. So it just, I think it's fine. It's fine. To me, it's just a sign that his time is winding down already. That's how I see it as.
That's what I was trying to figure out too, if it was his time winding down. And what's sad part is, Jeff, I think our time is dwindled down with you because I know you're a busy man.
I'm not going to talk about X-Men 97.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask him right now.
No. Y'all got to let me get to that point there, man. I got to.
Right. What else do you want to talk about then?
No, I want to. I know our time's dwindling down, but I had to ask you, man. X-Men 97 came out. The trailer came out for it. And when I saw it, my mouth kind of dropped a little. And I'm like, can this happen like right now?
I know.
Is there any way we can get a TikTok reaction video of you, Jeff, somehow? Because I'm pretty sure it would have been funny.
I know Jeff got a little Peter tingle for Rogue. I know he still has a thing for Rogue, man, from X-Men.
What did you think about it, Jeff, when it dropped?
Yeah. You know, it took a little me getting used to the new voice for Wolverine. It's not the same actor.
Yeah.
Deeper. So, but outside of that, it's good. I like that we're finally seeing Cyclops man up to the leadership plate. You know, he's always in his feelings, always sad and this and that. And can I do it? Can I not do it? Well, it looks like he's going to take the torch. You know, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, the OG 97 series ended with Magneto on the side of the X-Men. Did I remember that correctly?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So why are they surprised that he's in there saying, well, I guess maybe because at least according to the trailer.
The last will and testament of Charles Xavier's. I control the X-Men.
Man, they're coming for you, Jeff. Swiss has put money bags this week for Rogue for sure. And Mario Cavazzo says Jeff made a hole in his pants.
You know, I think we all know there's only one 80s girl that can do that for me.
And that's the same one for me, and that is the Baroness from G.I. Joe.
Oh, man.
If she had me tied up and asked me for America's Secrets, I would sing them in a heartbeat easily.
I heard Gio can handle that type of torture, quote unquote torture.
I don't know. Gio's not an 80s kid, isn't he? You're not an 80s kid.
I'm a 90s kid.
90s kid. So
okay.
So you know what? Gio was one on the who was it? Gio? It was not Winnie Cooper because that was our I think.
That was 80s.
Topanga.
I had to say Danielle Fishel, right? Topanga.
Yeah.
Was the one. So what about Kelly Kapowski, Gio? Nothing for you?
I mean,
oh come on, man!
I can't lie. Topanga was pretty much my 90s girl.
No, for me,
Gio likes him some Latinas, man. So you got to talk his language.
The other thing for me too in the 80s was Susanna Hoffs.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That is a good one. Yeah. I think in the 80s, man, what was it about? Was it Phoebe Cates in the 80s?
Fast Times, Ridgemont High.
Yeah, I was watching stuff I probably shouldn't be watching back then.
By the way, Gio, yes, I've eaten at Cat's Deli, and I've known people that have gotten food poisoning from there.
Ah, darn it. Well, I have not.
And you recommended that to me, Gio.
Well, look, some places occasionally I'm sure people get sick from foods that we've had, but I stand by it. I love it. It is kind of pricey, but hey.
What outside of Cats, Jeff, real quick, outside of Cats, what is another major NYC staple that you have to try? Because I want to see if Gio knows about it.
Well, I don't know if this is a national chain because the first time I ever encountered it was in NYC. Pelicana is a Korean barbecue, Korean fried chicken place. It's called Pelicana. Really, really good. It's pricey, but it's very good Korean style fried chicken. What else? There's this place. I lived in Queens.
Okay.
And there's this new place that opened up. It was called Taste Buds. And I've had a lot of deli sandwiches from Manhattan to Staten Island to Bronx or what have you. But something about that place called Taste Buds in Queens was just amazing. And
what was that place you used to go get all the sandwiches from that was right around where you lived?
I was Taste Buds. I mean, that's all I ate for decades in deli sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about New York. There's so many sandwich places. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. We would always get sandwiches, pizzas, hot dog. I mean, it's just like there's so much food everywhere that there's no way you can eat all the restaurants in New York. So
it's close to impossible. It's close to impossible to eat everything out of New York.
Rudy said that his favorite pizza place was Sbarro in New York. I said,
no way.
Wow, Rudy, what a surprise there.
Yeah, let Jeff tell you one time about the time he ate a sleeve of crackers, man. That's my favorite story.
During the pandemic, I had those sleeve of crackers, and I ate them all, and I got sick.
Ooh.
And the whole sleeve.
The whole sleeve, man. And then what else? NYC does not have great Mexican food. I found a couple that were close. There was actually a restaurant in Manhattan off 3rd Avenue, and it looked like a very typical hole in the wall Mexican restaurant. I said, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. I've seen this before in San Antonio, and we try it out. That was the closest I got, and I got curious, and I spoke to the owner, and he was actually from Bernie, Texas, and he opened up a spot in Manhattan, but it wasn't close. Now, there is a restaurant in Manhattan called Yellow Rose, and they try to recreate San Antonio. Not kidding. You go into the room where you order the food, and there's pictures of like South Flores. They recreate the Spur logo on their sandwich board outside to tell you what's on the menu. They have a very La Villita decor inside there. So, but it's still not the same. Still not.
No,
still not.
You can't. I mean, I lived in Ohio for 2 years, and that Mexican food.
I heard that story. Yeah, I heard that story. Now, I used to also live in Michigan. I lived in Michigan for 4 years, and I remember going to a Mexican restaurant, and they never heard of a flauta. They never heard.
Oh wow!
They're like, "What is a flauta?" And I explained it to them. And then I looked at their menu, and everything they're on their menu, everything was a puffy taco, but it was just named different. Like, this is a chalupa, but it was a puffy taco. This is a enchilada, but it was a puffy taco.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When I lived in Chicago, they have a really good Mexican scene there, so I got exposed more to some things that I didn't eat in Florida. You know, like tongue and some way different stuff.
No. What tripped me out the most is when I asked. They had bean and cheese taco on the menu, and they gave it to me on crispy shells. And I'm like, what is this? And they said, oh, it's bean and cheese taco. I'm like, that's not taco at all, man.
I can imagine Rudy's face.
Look at this fat guy body. I didn't get like that using crispy shells. It was flour tortilla. There ain't no.
Some of the best foods I ate though when I was living. I lived in New York for grand total close to 2 decades. sheesh, was actually eating food at Met Stadium or Yankee Stadium. Like you would find like the best food there because all the restaurants would converge and open up little booths, like little pop-ups inside, and you would just go and you could be able to almost sample all of New York City in one shot. And they had a great steak sandwich there at Citi Field. And I remember the old Yankee Stadium. Oh my goodness, this just the stadium food was so good. And then then they moved to the new stadium. It's like they got full of themselves. Like it was like too ritzy or too snooty. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're in the new Yankee Stadium. I swear, I think Aaron Judge hit like a home run, bases loaded, amazing game and everything, and it was golf claps, just golf claps throughout the entire Yankee Stadium. But when I would go to when I go to Mets games, and I used to live very close to Citi Field. Oh my God, that place was just rocking. I mean, Mets fans got rowdy. And it was a fun time. But I should find some of the best food there at the stadium. But it was not. But if you want a sticker shock and look at the prices, yeah, you would faint.
Yeah, I mean, I think baseball food is probably the best when it comes to like sports. I mean, football, I've been to some stadiums and it's like the NBA, forget about it. I'm sorry. I just don't like NBA.
You got a strong stomach, Gio?
Because
I do got a strong stomach. But
place has really good food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gio and Jeff should try the Juarez dog that's over there at the little minor league baseball team they have in El Paso. It's a hot dog, like a foot-long hot dog, drizzled with like beans and cheese.
Oh man, that's gonna
onions. I mean,
so coming from El Paso, it doesn't really sound appealing, man. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got a strong stomach because you eat that bad boy, you ain't gonna make it to the ninth inning. You know what I'm saying?
Hey Jeff, quick question, man. You got a couple more minutes to go over one quick topic. So check us out. We're talking to Jeff Garcia at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Follow him, Locked On Spurs. Hey, on X. Not to take the food comment away, but I did remember something. You released the Locked On Spurs earlier today with Michael Jimenez, who I've heard him being called everything.
El Mamón de San Antonio.
Yeah, he's got every nickname in the book here. Basically, the topic that y'all were talking about was Wemby being the GOAT status. When you're talking GOAT status for the Spurs. Now, we're not talking NBA, just Spurs in general. I have yet to hear it, so I'm going to hear it when we're done here. But to think, to think about him being the GOAT of the Spurs, are we kind of in agreement that it's going to have to take a lot? And not just statistically speaking, but it's going to take a lot.
Let me throw scenarios that we talked about. So there's just becoming the GOAT flat out, and that's it. But what if I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't think he can guide this team to 6 titles to eclipse TD.
No.
6 titles, I don't think that'll happen. Okay, but what if do you think this would qualify as GOAT status? Let's just say he gets a couple of titles. Okay, fine. Doesn't get the 5 like Timmy or passes them, but he passes Robinson and Duncan and all individual stats for the franchise. Is that enough? So he passes TD in blocks and points and field goal percentage and Robinson and all this stuff. What if he combos that? Like he is the badass in all the individual stats, but just like 2 or 3 titles.
So for me, ideally, if he gets the titles, then yes. But
how many does he need?
He needs 6. I think he needs 6.
I would say 4.
But for me, it's 6. 4 is good. But let me put it in this sense. There's one stat that has to be eclipsed in order for me to consider him GOAT, and that is the 20+ year playoff streak.
Ooh, yeah.
That right there, because that's dominance for the Spurs over time. That's Timmy dominating for majority of the time. That's titles in that time. If he puts up a streak like that, then I can talk GOAT. If not, I'm not talking GOAT status.
Okay, here's the other wrinkle we thought of. Okay, what if he gets the individual stats, but he leads the team to a back-to-back title defense? Something David and Timmy never did.
That's what we were talking about earlier in the show. with Jimenez, you know, the Alamo City Sportscast. We're saying if Wemby actually does get back-to-back titles, hey, that's something that not even the big, three were able to do. Even Robinson.
Big three, nothing. Robinson, Timmy alone, nothing. Is that enough?
Go ahead, Gio, because I got an answer that I got a question, but go ahead.
I think if it's a three-peat, I think the conversation should definitely be if it's back-to-back.
Yeah, but remember, we're just talking franchise.
I know. Yeah.
That's it.
Man, back-to-back with all the accolades, and I just don't think. To win as many as Timmy won, I think he has to win a little bit more. But if he won 3 in a row, though, Jeff, I think that would be. That
solidifies it.
That kind of gives you a pretty good stamp there that he's on his way or he's already at that time.
All right, and then the other thing is, so me and Jimenez agreed on this. Will he do enough though to maybe not pass TD but pass Robinson as number 2 on the GOAT list?
Man, again, I think I'm a lot harsher critic when it comes to players, and I think that's probably my downfall. But I think statistically, he's probably going to pass Robinson.
He's going to pass T-Rob, okay.
Yeah, I think he passes him statistically. But
do we agree he's going to pass TP and Manu?
Yes.
Yeah.
I honestly, and again, this is probably going to be pissing off a lot of people. As great as Manu was, can you say he's a traditional fan favorite? And he dominated on the court, but the lure of Manu was fan driven. Put it that way. Would Manu win, 5 titles without Tim? Would, Tony win these titles without Tim? Probably not. Statistically, Manu would be a better player in another team, stat-wise. But, Manu is a great player, and he contributed to so many teams. He should have been MVP of the finals against Detroit. I will go down swinging on that hill. But can Wemby pass Manu and Tony? I think he's going to pass them probably within the next, probably like 5-6 years easily. If he keeps going this route.
Well, the thing about it is, I don't think, if he does, amazing. But if he can guide this team to 6 titles under his watch, he's GOAT. I think that's it. I think even probably Timmy would say, he's GOAT. But the thing about it is the wrinkles, the back-to-back. What if he helps defend the Spurs title for the first time in franchise history? Look, guys, he's already joining Robinson in his rookie season on Spurs list, all-time great. Robinson, TD. He joined Dream Olajuwon recently as far as triple-double, how he had it with 10 blocks. So he's doing all these things. That's what I think. What if he just racks up so many accolades? Like he wins. Well, how many MVPs did TD win? 2 league MVPs? What if he gets 3?
2.
What if he gets 3? That's something TD never did.
Yeah.
To
me, like I said, my biggest factor is the consistency, the playoff streak. That holds a lot of water because that is so tough to do, knowing that we've talked about Wemby being injury prone at the beginning of his career. He hasn't really seen that, knock on wood. He hasn't seen that. But just to know that the consistency that every single year the San Antonio Spurs under Tim Duncan were title contenders. And to me, that holds a lot of water to get a streak like that going. It's not going to happen his first year, but once he gets that streak going, then the stats matter a little bit more than the titles. Now, my question posed back to you and Gio and Joe was, okay, he goes back-to-back, never done in Spurs history. But it's only 2 titles. If those are the only 2 titles that he has, is that enough to put him up there?
Well, but it's back defense.
So if it's
back-to-back defense, that's what I'm saying. But even though it's back-to-back, is 2 titles enough to say you surpassed Timmy?
So if he gets the accolades, he wins back-to-back. Look, David won 2 rings. And to be fair, look, David's years before Duncan, right? What was some of the knock on David? He, couldn't get a team to a championship, right? It just things didn't work out in the playoffs. And if Wemby was back-to-back, he has the accolades and obviously some more playoff success, at least at that point, at least number 2. if he can't get to at least 4 rings, right? Like if he can't muster that up, and he gets hurt or whatever the case may be, if he can at least get to 2, and all the accolades are coming with that, maybe 3 or 4 MVPs. I mean, now the MVPs though, let's say he gets 5 or 6 MVPs, right? But only 2 rings. It's like, man, like it's going to be hard to kind of leave him out of that discussion, really. Like if he gets like 4, 5, 6.
It does, but
Rudy, do I understand you correctly? You're saying he has to get 6 plus the individual accolades?
So well, for me, 6 would put him automatically, I think, GOAT status. Whether he's got the accolades, MVPs, or whatever, 6 would get him to me the GOAT status. But what holds water with me is the playoff streak, because I even look at David. David came in the league. They had the playoff runs during David's career before Tim Duncan. So he can put up, it kind of reminds me of, Tony Romo in a way, how you can put up all the stats you want, but what have you done when it comes to winning time? And that's where I look at overall GOAT status. I mean, you can have all the stats in the world. You can have, be in the MVP talk. You can go get 2 MVP awards. I mean, MVP are season-long awards. So as long as you're dominating the season, who gives a crap if your team makes the playoffs? If you're that statistically sound, you're going to be talked about as MVP. Now, it's the matter of the playoffs. It's a matter of how good is your team, under Wembanyama. And that's where for me, GOAT status is. A GOAT to me is a team that has the stats, has the wins, continues to improve his team, just overall makes that organization that much better. And again, not his fault this season.
All right. Joe, what is it going to take for you to put him in the conversation, though?
Conversation, if he has not only multiple say MVPs. So if he gets 2 MVPs in a row and he also is able to win back-to-back championships, that's greatness right there. If he's able to win 3 chips, 2 MVPs, and 3 NBA Finals MVPs, game over, man.
That'd be good. Yeah. That's really good right there.
And it's just so amazing that he's already joining the legends of the game in just half a season already. At least some statistical area.
See the greatness in Wemby, Jeff. Come on.
No, I'm not doubting it. It's just, but here's the thing. How much do the Spurs have to help him by giving him a team to reach that goal? It's that he can't do it alone. He's going to have his Tony and Manu.
Well, maybe you can have a discussion with Brian Wright if you see him in the hallway.
But I mean, Rudy, what do you think? The Spurs are going to have a big hand in helping him get to that. So
it's very true. And, it's funny Joe mentions Brian Wright, because I'm a big advocate. And when I ask this question to guys like Derek Gervin and other people, what has Brian Wright really done? I mean, drafting Wemby is easy. That's an easy thing to do. But if you look at his past drafts, I mean, nothing excited. His free agency, and I'll do respect. It's hard to get free agents, especially coming to San Antonio.
Well, name his past, let's say, flops. Primo, one big one. Samanic, right? Wieskamp.
That was Buford. Watch.
But I'm saying he picked up the mantle from Buford, and he was partly responsible for the development of said players, but they let him walk, or they let him just go for nothing. They picked these players, and they're really not doing anything for the Spurs. They're gone. They moved on to other things. They're not even in the league anymore. You look at Lonnie Walker. He's over there with the Brooklyn Nets now. Spurs fans sometimes look at Lonnie and they're like, come home, Lonnie. The only person that I want to see that's already left that I would like to see return, bring Patty home, man. Let him retire as Spur.
For me, it's Derek White. I could do that over again. I would love to bring him back.
Yeah. And again, that goes to Brian Wright. Okay, you traded Derek White. You got some assets for him, but you haven't done or will do anything with those assets. I mean, at least if you're going to trade one of your better players, do something with what you get in return. And that's my problem is Brian Wright, outside of, well, we're going to give Brian Wright all the credit in the world because he drafted Victor Wembanyama. I mean, hell, man, anybody could have made that.
Remember,
still in the right order.
By his own admission, Brian Wright didn't even know that the Spurs won the lottery. They had to tell him. that they won the lottery.
That's all you need to know, everyone. That's all
What
you
was
got to
he
know.
doing? What's that brother doing, man? Come on.
You know what he was doing? He was fumbling through the work papers, the worksheets, to try to figure out if he had the right information. And then another team GM tapped on the shoulder saying, you just won. And he didn't. He's like, what?
That's what I'm telling you, man. I mean, that kind of shows you a lot about when it comes to Brian Wright. I mean, there's a whole lot that people can say, but you asked if the Spurs need to do something for Victor. Yeah, in order for him to be successful, they do. Victor doesn't have, Sam Presti, in the background like Tim Duncan did for all those years and David Robinson did. These guys are geniuses. R.C. Buford, another genius. They were able to go out and draft some of these kids that, again, you didn't hear of. I mean, you went out and drafted a Leandro Barboza and traded him, but look how Barboza turned out. He would have been a fantastic Spur. You've got other guys like that they went and drafted that weren't Spurs because they traded him. Yeah, Luis Scola's another one. But you also had the guys like, hey, we're going to get a Fabricio Berto. We're going, you're going to get, so-and-so. Hey, you know what? Ginobili, Rashawn Nesterovich doesn't fit in Minnesota. Bring him to San Antonio where he fits perfectly. I mean, these are the types of moves that the front office needs to make that you don't see anymore. And again, why is it so difficult now? I don't know. I mean, that's something that we'd have to, go bang on the door of the front office and see if we can ever get an answer from. But nonetheless, man, Jeff, we could talk Spurs all day with you. I hope you can.
One more game. I'll give you a little sneak preview for tomorrow's Locked On Spurs. Okay. So we ended up the week at Lowe's with a game where you have to only take the current roster as of today, 2/15/24, and say, okay, you can only pick one player to represent the Spurs at the 3-point shootout at the dunk contest. Who would it be?
Jeez, man.
One player at the 3-point and one player at
the dunk contest.
Oh, man. For me, at the 3-point, I don't know, man. I would probably say...
What's a Coyote doing?
You know what? 3-point, I would just throw Devin out there for the hell of it. I mean, there's really nobody else I would think. Chris Gonzalez is KJ, but KJ no, because he's too slow on that jump shot.
You know what I said just for fun and giggles? Zach Collins.
Oh God, no, man.
It's bad enough Giannis is talking about joining the 3-point contest. You imagine Zach out there? They'd have enough bricks out there to build an entire subdivision if Giannis and Zach Collins are doing the 3-point contest.
But in all seriousness, I picked KJ and I say, look at this practice, KJ. Go. We're gonna just practice on your shot. For the dunk contest, I picked Wemby. I say I would like to see Wemby do it. Only reason why, because I want to see how far he can leap to get to the rim. Like
that's true.
That would be like that Space Jam where Michael Jordan.
With the one arm.
Hey, Wemby can dunk it from the free throw line, so he didn't even have to.
I know, but I think that's easy for him. Like, I just want to know how far does he have to take that initial.
What if he jumps from the 3-point line like Michael Jordan and goes and gets the ball? That'd be insane.
Who would you pick, Rudy, for the dunk contest?
Dunk contest, honestly, the first person to come to mind, I'd probably take Blake Wesley. I think he, with the motor that he's got, I think he can get enough speed to do some pretty crazy dunks out there. So I would take Blake Wesley. I mean, if not him, I have no idea. Wemby would be a good one too. I just think Wemby would get penalized for being so damn tall. And you've seen tall players in past dunk contests, and they're kind of like, between the legs 5 times, you're 7'4". I mean, you can do it. It's not a big deal. So that's a pretty good one. Everybody be sure to tune into Locked On Spurs and let Jeff know, hey,
Gio, who'd you pick?
I'm picking Wemby on a slam dunk because Jeff, as he's talking, I was like, I could see this. I could see some sort of something that we've never maybe seen before. And then on the 3-point side,
I'd go with Keldon, dude. Keldon is probably your best.
I guess Keldon. I mean,
what about Sohan?
Nah, man.
No,
nah.
He's gonna shoot it one-handed, Jeff. Come on.
Well, I think that'll be the gimmick. I think it's All-Star Weekend. Let's have fun. Let's see this one-handed 3-shot.
So they want to see Jimenez and Wemby in the
it would have been McDermott, but
yeah, it would have been Germany, right? Exactly.
if you put Jimenez in the 3-point competition. Well,
remember, Joe. Jimenez says he's athletic. Yeah, he's athletic.
Bro.
You sure he works for the Athletic? You sure Jimenez doesn't work for the Athletic? And he's
built for comfort, man. He's built for Netflix and chill nights, bro.
Yeah, no.
So far, according to Jimenez, he's athletic. He has mad game that no women can resist.
He said Chingles the game, Jeff.
That no one can resist him. Yes, this is your San Antonian, everybody. He thinks Fiesta is trash. Thinks Tano music. What is it? What did he say one time? Joe, he said Tano music is too much.
It's too ethnic.
And then he did. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Gio Jimenez literally said he doesn't want to look ethnic.
I'll tell you this.
I'm like, he's dark as hell, Rudy, with black hair, bro.
I'll tell you this,
bro.
If you have to talk about how much game and all the women you can get, that just means you don't have game at all.
Shots fired. Shots fired from Rudy.
Just saying, if you've got to brag about the game that you have, you just don't have any game at all. That's.
Oh, and by the way, Gio, I don't know if you heard this, but he was the reason why the Spurs retired Johnny Moore's jersey. Kidding, he said that.
Jimenez says a lot of stuff. He says a lot of stuff, and I'll be on my timeline, right? I'll be on a timeline that says, "Well, there goes Jimenez again." Let me just keep scrolling down.
Mm-hmm. Sadly, I'm the exact same way, man. I'm the exact same way.
What is your cash tag for Jimenez? Cook.
Cook. It's just like, I don't know if he realizes what he says. Like, does he understand what he says?
He does. It's just him being him, man. That's Jimenez.
Well, by the way, also, Rudy, remember, Big Trouble Little China is trash, according to him.
Don't get me started on the movie reviews by him.
You know what he's doing tomorrow, right? I don't think you all heard. The show, when we're ending the show, Jimenez's homework tonight is to watch at least 2 episodes of Knight Rider for a retro throwback review.
He's gonna trash it. You can see it coming already.
He's watching Knight Rider?
Yes, the original, the OG Knight Rider.
I'm gonna hop on Joe's show tomorrow and listen to the debacle.
Jeez.
Review.
You got to tell him something, Jeff. You got to tell him, man.
I don't know. I mean,
I like to let him hang himself. Just hang yourself. Just do it. You do it to yourself. There's no talking to you at this point.
It's like my old boss to say, I give them enough rope to let them hang themselves. That's
there you go.
The way it is. Well, man, Jeff, I really do appreciate you coming on Sweep the League. I hope we can do this again. I was expecting 15 minutes, and you gave me damn near a whole hour, and I love that, man.
Cool, man. Yeah. All good, buddy.
Appreciate it, man. That Jeff Garcia. Follow him on X. It's at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Check out Locked On Spurs. Myself, Joe Garcia, and that guy Jimenez tends to be a guest as well. So be sure to check out Jeff Garcia on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to say goodbye as well, fellas.
Joe's taking off too.
I gotta go pick up my boy from school, man. So I got.
Yeah, man. No worry. Hey. Joe. Appreciate you coming on, Joe. We're going to finish this last part of Sweep the League. Again, Joe, thanks for everything you do. Be sure to follow Joe on X. It's at 2 Shots Podcast. Catch him and Jimenez every morning, Monday through Friday, 10:15 to 11:30 on the Alamo City Sports Cast. Joe, thanks for coming on, man.
Peace, fellas.
Appreciate it, Joe.
So, Mike, we are definitely talking Spurs all day. I didn't expect to talk Spurs all day. That's for dang sure.
No, I know. That was not part of the plan, but sometimes, Rudy, you just got to make changes, that's all.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Edmund's in here. Edmund's making fun of Knight Rider. The car talks. Come on. Yeah. He's going to have some dumbass shit to say.
Oh, boy.
When it comes to that, man. But we talked a lot of Spurs, dude. We got some time here still. We were talking about we're going to transition to back to NFL draft stuff. So we had our talk in the earlier of the podcast talking about Caleb Williams, talked about the Bears and Justin Fields, about the moves that they had to make or should not make. We got to do a little scapegoat talk here. The Super Bowl just ended. Obviously, Chiefs beat the 49ers. Then you had the DC from the 49ers being canned. And it made me question it for the past couple of days, man. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has to be on the hot seat because of this move. And that kind of made me wonder, like, why in the hell is I know the Niners defense didn't perform very well, especially towards the end of the season. And in the playoffs, they had issues. But it's got to be a scapegoat move.
They did have some issues, but statistically, if you look at some of their rankings, Rudy, they actually had a really good year. People like to point to the Ravens game. That's easy, right? Like, you're going to point to certain games this year. When the Rams play the Cowboys, we were terrible, right? Like, it's just there's certain games where you're not going to play well. Look, Kyle Shanahan needs to be held accountable. Steve Wilkes, what was the score at halftime, Rudy? Can you tell everyone? It was 10-3.
10-3.
Is that not what the defense did, right? He has nothing to do with the offense. And in the second half, look, players are going to make plays. Great players are going to put their team in position to get scores. And that's what the Chiefs did. Kudos to them. But to say certain things, and also Joey Bosa, he said, I think yesterday or the day before, I wish we were prepared better. What do you mean by that, Joey? Are you talking about yourself? You're talking about the secondary, the linebacking core? Yeah. Please, Joey, tell us, why did you wish you were better prepared? And as soon as he said that comment, Rudy, I knew that Steve Wilkes was going to get fired. And next season, everyone who's listening, point your head towards Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, because they're the ones that need to be kind of looked at next season, because besides the 2 Super Bowl runs for the 49ers, and obviously they did make, an NFC Championship game, there's a lot of years in there where they didn't do anything. So, look, I get it. You lose as a team, but to fire look, Steve Spagnuolo lost the Super Bowl, right? When the Bucs lost, or when the Bucs beat the Chiefs, they didn't fire Steve, right? They kept him on staff. They kept trucking. But to fire Steve Wilkes, I just think it was way out of bounds. And Kyle just kind of shifting blame. And he can say whatever he wants to, but we all know the truth.
Spags actually got a contract extension this earlier today. So,
listen, that defense, Rudy, we talk about the Chiefs, the worst Chiefs team. We kind of mean like the worst Chiefs offense. But this is the best Chiefs defense we've seen in the Super Bowl run, by none.
And what's sad is that they're going to have to start making some decisions when it comes to the Chiefs, because they're going to have to end up paying Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed. You've got a couple of guys on there you're going to have to end up paying. And if I'm not mistaken, you can franchise tag, I think, one, because Chris Jones was under the franchise tag this year.
Yeah, they're going to – it sounds like to me, Rudy, Chris Jones could be the one that's let go. I mean, he wants a lot of money. And look, he's played phenomenal, Rudy. He's won his Super Bowls. Hey, go get your money, bro. Go somewhere else and be successful. But I just don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to pay him, because their corners are really good, Rudy. And I would rather go more keep the corners at this point than your defensive tackle, who's obviously getting up there in age, but he's still playing at a superb level.
So is this now? I'm going on a hypothetical here. This is Sweep the League, so we got a couple of minutes. I'm going to go a couple of minutes over here. Hypothetically speaking, you look at Patrick Mahomes' contract. In order to probably restructure it, in order to gain more money to sign both Sneed and Chris Jones, I mean, that's something that you kind of have to approach Patrick about, to try to maybe put more money probably at the back end of the contract. I just can't see the Chiefs letting both of those guys go, even though it's probably going to happen. You're going to have to see one of these guys go. Is that something that we feel that maybe Patrick would be considered doing? Because that would be a smart thing to do, knowing that Patrick's not going anywhere. He's still going to get paid, but just put it more towards the back end of that contract. Maybe extend him a couple more years to make that money last.
They could extend him. Rudy, I'm looking at the contract. I mean, it was team friendly the last few years, right? They were able to kind of spread things along. But, obviously he's getting towards the higher mark. I think in 2026, he's making $45 million. 2025, though, he's making $16 million. If you look at all these numbers, bro, it's kind of, they've really did a good job of kind of separating also. Maybe Patrick doesn't have to take a little bit of a paycheck, but hey, he's won 3 Super Bowls, Rudy. Would you feel comfortable going to Patrick saying, hey, but I know you've won 3 MVPs. Can we get some of that money back? Or obviously you said they're going to spread it out. So maybe just tack on a few extra more years and you'll be able to spread that out. I think that does make sense, because especially 26, 27, he's going to get a pretty high mark. But in a few years, Rudy, maybe his contract doesn't look as bad as maybe some of the other guys who are coming up.
Oh yeah, you're going to see some ridiculous contracts. But then again, no one had a problem with Bob and Bill going to Brady and asking him to take back some of that money and spread it out to help him win.
Look, Brady he's different because Rudy, if you look at his contract, I don't think Brady was ever the highest paid quarterback. Mm-hmm. I might be wrong, but if you go look at the numbers, highly doubt Brady was ever, the highest paid. But hey, he wanted to win, and I do have a little disagreement with that, but hey, that's Tom's money. He can do whatever he wants to do. But for Patrick, hey, if he wants to give or spread out that money a little bit more, I mean, look, Brady, he's on every State Farm commercial, bro. Every time I look, it's like his endorsements is just ridiculous. So his NFL contract really is just, obviously he's getting paid to work. But Chris Jones, Rudy, hey, he's talented. He's great. He's been a stud in the middle. If they're able to lose someone, it's probably him. They've drafted really well up front too. They have Kalafkas at defensive end, and they also have the other guy that got hurt last week or 3 weeks ago against the Ravens that was out for the Super Bowl. But they've drafted well defensively. Rudy, do you think they'll go after a receiver? Because I'm pretty sure they will get a wide receiver, either it's in the draft or in free agency.
So 2 guys to look at in the draft that I see that I actually kind of have pegged for Kansas City. One of them might surprise you because he's actually, from the draft stuff that I've seen, for whatever reason he's dropping. He hasn't dropped that low yet in the first round, but he's still dropping. So we've seen Andy Reid make a trade before to move up in the draft, a la Patrick Mahomes, to get to number 10. That is Jared Verse out of Florida State. He has been dropping, and you're talking about probably one, if not the best defensive end in the draft. Why he's dropping again, kind of hard to say, but with the combine coming out, that's going to take precedence for a lot of people. I don't really put too much into the combine, but, if you see Jared Verse dropping, there's kind of your replacement for Chris Jones, I believe there. And then coming back around, one receiver that should be getting first-round love, Gio, is Malachi Corley.
Oh, yeah.
Malachi Corley there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the same breath as, probably a Rome Aduze or even a Malik Neighbors type guy. I mean, there's so many guys that are going to be coming out of receiver. This receiving core in the NFL draft is going to be massive.
Rudy, he had look, I know he played at a small school, right? Western Kentucky. 80 catches, almost 1,000, 10 touchdowns. Hey, that's really good. No, he is 5'11", but look, in this league in the NFL, they're throwing every freaking play. And for Kansas City to, they thought Mecole Hardman would be the guy after Tyreek. They thought Tony, right? Listen, I've raved about Sky Moore, and unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out. Yeah. And they let Juju Smith-Schuster go last offseason to New England. So for what they did, Rudy, though, in the Super Bowl, to get to there with the receiving core that they got, it just speaks to the genius of Andy Reid. Just really game planning, putting guys in position to make plays. It wasn't great. They led the league in drops, Rudy, right? So they dropped a lot of passes. Yeah. But kudos to Andy. One quick story before we leave on Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. So I forgot who told the story, though, on Fox. But apparently on draft night before the Chiefs drafted Mahomes, John Gruden was walking around. John spoke to someone. I think it's the Fox Sports college analyst, Joe Klatt. Joe Klatt, Gruden came to him and says, hey, what do you know about this Mahomes kid? Because apparently, I guess John Gruden got word that Andy's going to make a trade. And Joe Klatt was like, hey, he's a good player, but, obviously there's, weaknesses and this and that. And then John's like, all right, because Andy's gonna draft him. And look and behold, 3 Super Bowls, 3 MVPs, 2 league MVPs. And if John Gruden would have traded, how do you think that would have worked out with Mahomes on the Raiders?
I don't know, man, because I've seen everybody say, oh, put Mahomes on this, put Mahomes on that team, put Mahomes on that team. It doesn't really work out that way. It's the Wembanyama effect, man. Yeah. You got to build around him, and Kansas City has been able to build around him. And not only that, Mahomes was in a perfect position because he had Alex Smith ahead of him. And Andy was not going to start Patrick right away.
No.
It was one of those Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type of things. Mahomes was going to sit for a while, and Alex, ended up getting hurt. And then, again, now the Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe thing happened where you get someone that's hurt.
Hey, so the last game of the year, right? It's a throwaway game. Patrick Mahomes played that last game. I think it was against the Broncos, and he lit it up. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, I saw that one game from Patrick his rookie year at the end of the season, and you knew this guy's gonna be really good. And hey,
yeah, and to the credit for the Kansas City Chiefs, I've seen people say T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is going to get franchise tagged by the Bengals, so I wouldn't expect him to be moved at all in the offseason. One guy to maybe look at if you're looking for a dominant wide receiver. Don't go very far. Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs is another guy.
Stephon Diggs, Odell Beckham, not as a clear-cut number one, but as kind of a clog in the system that you can kind of plug in.
Yeah.
There's going to be – they need – the way their offense, really, when it's humming, they need a down just a speed, just down the field threat. Tyreek was such a difference maker, and you're not going to find him just like that. But I do think they love the speed, take the top over the defense, and unfortunately, the speed guys they have just Sky Moore has been such a disappointment, man. Mike, such a disappointment. But hey,
happens.
That's how it works. Yeah.
It happens. So that's what we're doing on the Kansas City. We're going to get into a lot more NFL talk as far as offseason goes. Draft coverage as Sweep the League continues on. Tomorrow, I'm going to post this question because it's an NFL topic tomorrow as well. All the success Andy Reid has had, Gio. All the success. You look at the success with the Chiefs. It made people wonder, why couldn't he have the same success when it came to the Philadelphia Eagles? I think Joe might have lost the connection there. But tomorrow we're going to talk about Andy Reid and his success with the Eagles. Why wasn't he very successful with the Eagles? We'll get into that tomorrow, along with some more Spurs talk as well. Gio's back right here. I was letting him know that tomorrow I want to talk about Andy Reid having all the success with the Chiefs. He had dominant teams with the Eagles. What was the reason behind him not having the same success there? Don't give anybody anything away. Hold it for tomorrow.
It's a very clear-cut decision. No disrespect to the guy, but I think there was a reason why.
Yeah, save it for tomorrow. Also, we didn't get to the Derek Jeter talk. We'll get into that tomorrow, along with some more NBA stuff. Derek Gervin should be back tomorrow. Hopefully, The Rock will be back tomorrow as well. We'll have
Dwayne Rock Johnson.
Something better. That would be the true Rock. Rocky Garza should be back tomorrow as well with Derek Gervin. So we'll have a fun-filled Friday afternoon for you guys. Again, Alamo City Podcast Network on YouTube. Search for it, subscribe. That way you can be in the drawing for the 1K giveaway. We'll be giving away some prizes once we hit 1,000 followers. So, again, for Gio, it's Rudy Campos Jr. here on Sweep the League. Until we sweep the league again tomorrow, you guys take care. See you later, Knuckleheads.